Walked into my parents' house after my shift to find all my belongings thrown across the front yard. My mom was standing on the porch with a megaphone. "Attention neighbors, we're finally evicting our 28-year-old failure son." My dad was spray painting "loser" on my boxes, while my sister filmed, "This is what happens when you're a disappointment." My brother was posting signs on the lawn, "Free stuff from a freeloading parasite." Neighbors were coming out to watch. My mom continued on the megaphone, "He owes us $12,000, hasn't paid rent in 2 years." My dad grabbed my laptop and smashed it on the driveway. "Worthless computer for a worthless person." Mrs. Canderson from next door clapped, "Thank God, that eyesore is finally leaving." My dad threw my TV from the second-floor window. It shattered. Everyone cheered. I just smiled and loaded what wasn't destroyed into my car. Before getting in, I turned to face them all. "Two can play this game. Soon, you'll see my revenge." They all burst out laughing. My dad mocked, "What are you gonna do, loser?" 3 weeks later, my phone went nuclear, 20 plus, messages flooding in every second. "You ungrateful little parasite!" My father's voice rattled the kitchen windows. "Dad, you don't even know what you're talking about." I shot back, gripping the counter so my hands wouldn't shake. "You think I don't know? You've been bleeding us dry for years." My sister's laugh cut in sharp. "Years? Try his whole life." My jaw tightened. "You're rewriting history to feel better about yourselves." The room hummed with hostility. My mother slammed a plate into the sink so hard it cracked. "Who I am. My name's Ethan Parker, 28 years old. Until a month ago, I thought family was the one place you could crash without having to explain yourself. I was wrong. I'd been working double shifts at a warehouse while helping them cover bills they never admitted were theirs. I wasn't lazy, but they liked the word. It was easier than the truth. The cast: Dad, Robert Parker, 63, retired firefighter. Still strong, but too proud to admit the pension barely covers the mortgage. Mom, Linda Parker, 61, church treasurer. Keeps secrets like fine china, hidden, only taken out when needed. Sister, Jenna, 32, real estate agent. Lives for her image, even if it means cutting throats. Brother, Matt, 25, college dropout, part-time mechanic, full-time opportunist. You signed my name on that loan, didn't you? I said, my voice low. The silence after was an admission. It was just paperwork, Ethan, Mom said finally, like forging a signature was a minor detail. Paperwork? You stuck me with 15 grand in debt. Dad's lip curled. You wouldn't help otherwise. We needed it. No, you wanted it for Jenna's down payment, I said, eyes locking on my sister. She smirked. You never use your credit anyway. I worked 2 jobs for 2 years, and you still threw me out. I said, my voice cracking even though I tried to keep it steady. Dad's hands tightened on the table edge. Because you never paid rent. I was paying your overdue utility bills. You think lights stay on for free? My breath hitched, not because I was out of breath, but because I could hear my own voice shaking with a mix of rage and disbelief. Matt leaned back in his chair, smirking. Stop acting like a martyr, man. I wanted to throw the stack of unpaid notices in their faces, the ones I kept in a shoebox as proof. Proof that I wasn't crazy, but I didn't, because proof doesn't matter to people who've already decided what version of reality they want to believe. What hurt most wasn't the argument. It was the flicker of satisfaction in Jenna's eyes, like she'd been waiting for this moment. Waiting for me to be the villain so she could be the hero. 3 years ago, I stood in the rain outside the hospital, staring at the number on my phone. The surgery cost more than Dad's insurance covered. We didn't have the difference. I remember the tremor in Mom's voice when she said, We'll figure it out, Ethan. You've always been resourceful. Resourceful. That was her word for, you'll sacrifice something. The next morning, I sold my car. My one good thing. The piece of freedom I'd spent years paying off. I told my friends I wanted to simplify. But the truth was, I traded independence for the hope of gratitude that never came. When people asked, Dad would laugh and say, "Ethan totaled it. Always was reckless." I'd bite my tongue so hard it bled. Because in our house, loyalty meant swallowing the truth, even if it burned all the way down. That night I stopped arguing. My voice went quiet, and that scared them more than my yelling ever could. "Fine," I said. "You want truth? Here it is. You're perfect, Jenna." She's been siphoning money from the church fund through Mom's account for months. Mom's fork clinked against her plate. Dad froze mid-breath. "You're lying," Jenna said, but her voice wavered. "I saw the transfers. I printed them, and I sent them to the church board yesterday." The sound of Dad's chair scraping back was louder than his shouting used to be. Mom's face went pale, her hands twitching as if she wanted to grab something. Maybe me, maybe Jenna, maybe the truth before it slipped further out of her control. In that moment, I realized it wasn't just about the money. It was about the cracks in the image they'd built, the one they'd been patching for decades with silence and scapegoats. And now the patch had ripped wide open. "You'd ruin your sister like that?" Dad roared, voice raw. "No," I said quietly, looking him straight in the eye. "She ruined herself. I just stopped covering for her." Jenna's chair toppled as she stood. Her heels clicked against the tile. Fast, sharp, retreating. Mom muttered something about damage control, and followed, her voice already slipping into the tone she used when lying to neighbors. Dad slumped back into his chair, the weight of something finally settling on him. He didn't yell again. Didn't even look at me. For a second, I thought about staying. Not to fix things, but to watch the walls come down. But that wasn't who I wanted to be anymore. Watching them destroy themselves wouldn't heal me. It would just keep me here, part of the wreckage. I carried the last box to the car. It wasn't heavy, but it felt like it held everything they'd taken from me. Years, trust, the version of myself who believed love was enough. Dad stood on the porch, arms crossed, face unreadable. "You could have handled this differently," he said. "I did. For years, you just didn't notice." For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Maybe regret, maybe fear. I didn't wait to find out. I slid the box into the passenger seat, turned the key, and drove. The streetlights blurred in my rear view, each one a little dimmer until the house disappeared entirely. I didn't cry. Not because I was strong, but because I'd already cried for this family 1,000 times. 3 weeks later, the calls started. First from Dad, then from numbers I didn't recognize. Jenna's license suspended. Mom, relieved of her treasurer duties, which was the polite way of saying they no longer trusted her with a dime. When Dad finally got me on the phone, he didn't yell, didn't accuse, just said, "You were right, I'm sorry." The silence after those words was heavy, because apologies don't erase debt, financial or emotional. But they do leave a door cracked open. I'm not walking through it yet. My apartment's small, the floors creak, and the heat barely works. But it's mine. Every bill I pay is one I chose to take on. Every dollar I save is a brick in something I'm building for myself. Forgiveness? Maybe someday. Not for their sake. For mine. Because carrying their weight for years nearly broke me. Now, I'm learning to walk lighter. And for the first time in my life, the road ahead isn't theirs. It's mine. If you made it this far, you know family drama can cut deeper than anything else. In Ethan's case, the betrayal was financial, but the real wound was the years of silence and rewriting the truth. If you were in his shoes, would you walk away, or would you fight to fix it? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. If you connected with this story, hit that like button, subscribe for more real-life dramas, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, standing up for yourself isn't revenge, it's survival.